Okay, so we're live. So everybody, welcome to the Node.js Community Security Working Group meeting for May 17th, 2018. And on our agenda, we have two issues plus anything else that we want to add. I'd suggest we start with number 54, which is implement process for management of third-party vulnerabilities. I'm just going to see does anybody remember who put that on the agenda?
It has been on the agenda for a while, and we kept it last time because Liran was not
right.
And I think most of the still open topics are covered by Liran's pull request number.
Yeah.
Yes,
I think we can probably remove it from the agenda as we know why I think we want to do it. The pull request adds some automation for the tooling that will also be helpful for triage and maybe some of the hooks, linting and stuff like this. I think it's just finalizing it. I got some comments there. I just need to get to it and do that. So not really sure anything open from agenda perspective on it.
Okay, so I'll remove it from the working group agenda.
Okay.
It sounds like you've pretty much got it closed out, which is great. The other thing that was on the agenda is number 253, which is brainstorming and capturing so brainstorming how we capture and document areas people can contribute to. A little bit of background is now I forget. Sorry, is it Andrew?
AJ.
Sorry, AJ. Okay, AJ has sort of joined the community committee meeting a week or so ago, and is volunteering to kind of help across the organization to help us improve surfacing things that people can work on. And so one of the things we thought would be useful would be to sort of do a brainstorm with each of the working groups in terms of what kinds of things we think new people could help out with, and how we can make those visible so that it's easy for people to get engaged and, jump in basically. So it's, my starting thought is like, what kind of areas do we think are a good fit for that? And what's a good way for AJ to help in terms of documenting and facilitating people getting involved in that? I don't know, AJ, if you want to add a bit of context to that before.
No, I think you pretty much covered it. I'll add a link to that issue where I proposed the document in the chat that people can look at later, but I don't really have anything to add right now. That was pretty much it.
So what would we want to do in terms of what activity can we do there?
Yeah, well, the question is sort of like, can we think of certain things that will happen that we'll need more than once to do, and some new people coming in could help to keep those up to date. It could be a piece of automation which we'd like to do but haven't gotten to. It could be I don't have a list. It's sort of like, can we come up with a list that then we document, and it's a good way to help people get involved or know what to get involved in terms of this particular working group.
I think there are actually a lot of things we can do, and we just don't do because we don't have enough resources. I was always dreaming about having something like a good practice regarding security cookbook we could write, building toolings around security tools. I know that David started some of them, and there are countless stuff regarding evangelism, regarding automation, regarding tooling to help us triage vulnerabilities, maybe that could be done around that. Even something dummy like having a Twitter bot that tweets each time we publish a new vulnerability by merging it on the repo could be something incredibly cool in terms of visibility, evangelism, and is actually doable by a lot of people outside of us.
Yeah, those are some great examples. Like the Twitter bot is one where I suspect if we can get that socialized broadly enough, there's probably somebody who'd say, oh, that's cool, I'd really like to do that.
One aspect of this document is that it's sort of a priority document. So You can put as many things on as you want, but it's good to kind of rank the things that you want worked on in order, so that people see that and they're like, oh, this is what that working group wants the most right now. But then you can put whatever else. So if they have a special interest in working on that particular thing, then they can do that as well.
The other aspect that I think is interesting to think a bit about and brainstorm on is, like, we could come up with one list, but really we want something that you can keep an up-to-date list easily, right? So is it that, if we create an issue, and it's low overhead too, right? Because part of the reason you said we don't do these is because we're busy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what's the sort of easiest way we can provide enough information that maybe this list then automatically gets generated from something that's the easiest thing for us to create, right?
What if we have a special tag on the repo and we tag issues with to-do lists? I mean, like we've got good first contribution and we don't use it. We could generate a list out of that and have it. Maybe it's the easiest way for us.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just wondering, was like even just creating an issue sometimes more work that, you haven't created the issues because it's like, well, that's going to take time, and if we're not going to do it, is there an easier way even to just that might make it more likely that it's like, okay, I just got this quick idea, let's jot it down somewhere, or is an issue the least overhead?
Mhm.
Don't know what's the right answer there.
I'm not sure either. Yes.
I could create an email address that I could monitor, so people can just shoot an email with the description or just a title and a priority level or something.
Yeah, that's it. I think it'd almost be interesting if we could then somehow, one of the things that if we did that is we'd almost want some tooling that then created an issue from that. Like, I don't know, for people, is that easier? Is it does it actually make it that much easier to say, I'm going to shoot a quick email versus opening an issue?
For me, opening an issue is usually pretty straightforward. I've passed the level of being afraid of opening them, but sometimes it can be intimidating for other people or for people who are external to the working group. And maybe an email or even pinging a Slack would be easier for them.
Right now, I think this list would be generated though from our group, right?
Yeah, so
it's.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I do like the idea of issues a little bit though, because it makes it more public. So if somebody, saw an issue with that issue, it was like, oh, well, actually, why don't we, make this change first before adding the list or something like that? There'd be that opportunity.
Yeah, I kind of agree that like an issue is probably the way to go unless there's like something that's significantly enough easier that more will get created, right? Otherwise, issues is probably the. So like, to if we said it was issues, what that would take would for us as a team to generate more of these issues, which we know we don't have time to do, but are things that if somebody has cycles to contribute would potentially pick off.
Maybe let's just decide that we have got a tag for that, and those issues are free to be opened, and we won't close them. We won't actively monitor them as long as they are properly tagged, and
right.
We won't follow up with them until someone and we publicly say that in the README. Feel free to browse those kind of issues.
It could be something like a wish list tag.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, and it can be a one-liner, like there's no requirement to fill it in. If somebody sees that and then says, oh, I want to do that, then, that's the point where we'd say, okay, whoever created it would be willing to fill in more detail once there's somebody actually willing to pick it up.
Exactly.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Are we talking about raising issues in different work groups, or like having a centralized repo where all the work groups would come raise an issue on that repo?
I was assuming it would be in the repo for the security working group, but what you
Mm-hmm.
just mentioned is potentially a good idea too, right?
Yeah, we could have one repo for the whole org and the wish list repo, and anyone from a working group just open an issue, tag it with security working group, diagnostic working group, and that would be
That has a lot of interesting attributes in that it's, you know, if you're interesting the security working group, you don't get notified of these things that you don't necessarily like. It's not something you need to, and people can register to notify just on that one working group in terms of, hey, I want to know what new stuff is available to do. So yeah, that's and it doesn't sound to me like that's any more work for a working group to say, oh, I'll open that kind of issue over there. And in fact, it almost keeps the tracker for the current one cleaner.
that would be owned by the community committee, I assume.
Yeah, exactly. It could be a repo where, and you know, maybe then you now have a list you can revise on a particular amount of time to say, like, are these still valid? And
that would almost act as an extension to the document itself, in that people could, we could just link to the issue that created the entry on the document. They can click there for more information or to see who raised the issue, who they might want to ping or talk to about it.
Yeah, I like that idea. I think that's, you know, we probably need to test it out with a few working groups, but I don't know what other people, it sounds like Vladimir thinks it's not bad. Anybody else have any concerns or plus minuses? No? Okay. Yeah, so that's a sort of and that would be, I think, an easy way for people to go and say, go here, and it's just sort of things that are on the wish list, as opposed to like all bunch of things that are maybe harder to get into or. Okay. Vladimir had a list of things there, like, you know, creating some good practice, basically documentation. Some of those we probably need to make a little bit more concrete, like building security tools. You'd need to know, like, if you have some particular ones in mind. I like the Twitter bot one. Like, that's a very good example of.
Yeah, I think we've got an advertising issue. We need to be more public about what we do, because we want more people to join the triage teams, and we want more people to report vulnerability to us. And Twitterbot is probably one of those evangelism tools that would help us.
Yeah, so that basically would tweet whenever a new vulnerability was, and it would just give regular activity, if anything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a good one. What else? What other kind of things like that?
I think we discussed some ideas about evangelism before. Like, I think this is a strong point which we should try to kind of make more awareness out, because like building security tools is something that probably is limited to certain expertise that people has. So something like evangelizing, I think we talked before about maybe some podcast or stuff like that, like trying to get the word out there, and like trying to get the wheels rolling on that. I think we talked about some like blogging activities on the node.js Medium blog. So maybe it would be helpful to try and capture some ideas of what you want to blog about. And then like this is kind of related to documentation, and then we can enhance it, or like have a series of blog posts which are kind of like a formal panel, like we're interviewing people. If we can't like get the podcast, we can do something like this. So yeah, like I joined Vladimir in the notion that I think like a key part here is that we need to reach out more to people, and then kind of get this mass of people around the project.
Right. So in the context of bringing people, like new people in to help out, are there specific things that they could help on that front? Like,
I mean, I don't know, like not being on the team is going to be a bit hard, I guess, because of the internal processes that we're doing.
Yeah.
And also, I'm not really sure how much we can write about the stuff that we're doing in the triage process, because that's like a process by itself. We can share about it, but probably not really sure how that would be too much relevant for like people not on the working group, but just observers from outside.
Like, I can easily see that, say, if we think it's useful, we could get some sort of regular blog or regular Twitter post from the Node Foundation account that says, just a reminder, if you have Node.js security vulnerabilities to report, here's the right place to do it. But that's something we just need to do. I don't think somebody new can sort of jump in and help with that. It's more of is there things that somebody who's sort of new to the project but eager to help out on some front can do that will help us get things overall. And like the Twitter bot's a good one, where like that's a separate piece of work which you don't need to have as much context about what vulnerabilities are being triaged or whatever. There are other things like that are.
Someone could build a tool that detects path traversal in a module. That will help us a lot, because like probably 15% of the vulnerabilities that are reported to us are path traversal. And if we have an automated way to test them, that will make our life easier too. That's an example. I mean, we could get the same for prototype pollution or XSS or diverse vulnerabilities we are seeing a lot.
Okay, so sorry, I'm just taking the note here. So tool to detect path traversal in a module. And is that something where like it's fairly straightforward as to how you can detect that, and it's just work to write the module, or is it?
For most modules that are just serving content, all those small HTTP servers, you just need to instantiate it and try a few diverse paths on it. And if those paths are successful, you've got a directory traversals. Otherwise, you just don't. And maybe there is one, but the usual paths are not working here.
Okay. So, and the next one was a tool to detect.
Prototype pollution might be a bit harder to automatize.
Okay. Let's see what other.
I've got an idea. Node has like a travel fund. Is there any chance of something being approved, like a few $1,000s or something, to go towards making small bounties for different security-related issues?
We already have a bounty program in place through HackerOne, so I think that's initially covered.
Well, are you talking specifically about Node core issues? Or are you talking more about from like just random modules, like popular modules? Because the IBB Internet Bug Bounty for Node is only covering core Node issues, but it was originally something we had discussed about opening that up to security issues that affect widely used Node modules. So that could possibly be allocated towards that.
Right. Now, I'm just trying to think how like somebody new coming in helps out on that front.
That was one of the aspects of my document, is I wanted to kind of integrate with the mentorship program, because they've got several hundred people potentially coming in. Yep. So I'd like to use that to guide some of those people to different areas of need. So
this is maybe the need is for people to actually look for vulnerabilities. Is that the, you could, because there's sort of the side of like setting up a bug bounty program or something like that. Then the flip side is people actually looking for them. So if we're saying something useful for people to do is to look for and report vulnerabilities, although I kind of see that that's still a little bit different than like, here's something you can do to contribute to the Node.js project directly.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to be very straightforward for anyone not from the security field to just find vulnerabilities and report them.
Now, what about it? You know, there's a particular format to report to we have the JSON format for Node Core vulnerabilities and for the ecosystem vulnerabilities, right? Is there any use in some sort of tool that generates that format more easily or validates it? Or have you guys, I think you've done some work. I can't remember whether you've already got something that validates that or.
Yeah, that's related to the issue that we talked about, the first one that I need to finish, and also related to the Jenkins job that we will run.
Right.
That Vladimir wrote to validate the JSONs.
So is that for both the core vulnerabilities and the ecosystem ones, or just the ecosystem?
Right now, it just touches the ecosystem one, but it's pretty extensible. So it just about writing like a class for the core one.
So I'm just writing one which would be like to adapt the JSON validation tool for ecosystem some vulnerabilities to validate core vulnerabilities.
Oh, actually, I'm looking at the code and there is a model for core. So I think, yeah, it validates core vulnerabilities too. But
validate. But now I think we were writing about like creating the core report, so that we can tag that even as like a good first contribution. I think once we actually have the first like version of the tooling installed, so people can build upon it.
Right. So the current tooling validates but doesn't create it. Is that?
Yeah.
It does. Yeah, but like there's one open, like there's a PR open that needs to be merged, which is the first issue we talked about.
Yeah.
This is the tooling that creates them. So that's kind of work in progress. And
okay.
We land it, people can extend it.
Right. Extended. But that's so is they could extend that to then to do the same for core, or is that already done?
Yeah, okay. No, that's something that they can do. So that would be a good.
So yeah, so that's a good, sounds like a piece. Somebody doesn't need to have a huge amount of context, but can actually do that. That's good.
About other stuff that we can do. I have two ideas, but they're like split between new and existing team members. So one of them, I think like maybe it could be helpful to have kind of, I don't know, like a GitHub page or like somewhere that we can easily direct module authors to, like a FAQ page, like a FAQ. Where they can, because we're opening issues, we're contacting them, and sometimes they don't know why we're doing this, we're not telling them, like, what's the context, it's all kind of secretive and stuff like that. So maybe like we can have some kind of like an FAQ or like, why are we contacting you, what's needed from you, like something that is a lot clearer. And I think this is definitely something that like AJ and like ComCom, like the new documentation can help with, because once we kind of nail this down, we can just use it as like a link to module authors, like even those that have vulnerabilities that we're triaging, and even like generally everyone can just look at it. Because right now, like all the docs, the readmes, I think they're kind of technical. Like you would have to go and browse through like the processes, and it's kind of written in like a very technical way. So maybe we can make it a little bit more reachable. I think this is something that we can do on the ComCom. The other thing is...
That's a good one.
I always feel like I'm writing a scam email each time I'm ping
right.
Hey, there is a vulnerability in your repo. People want to know what it is. And I feel terrible each time.
Like it's maybe not even a GitHub page, but like a page on the website, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like something, I don't know, like thing.
Official.
And that's a great one, because like, if somebody who's like a module owner comes in and wants to help contribute, they can do it from their perspective in terms of like, I'm getting this contact, what would I want to know and everything. So yeah. Okay.
Yeah. The other thing I want to bring up is I don't think it's kind of related to like newcomers, but like a general one is, I think we kind of need to better track progress that we're doing on triage and like reports and stuff that we're doing on the HackerOne platform. I think it makes some sense to figure out like what effort are we doing, like APIs, and like are we missing SLAs and why are we missing them. And I think the HackerOne platform provides you with some level of analytics. Maybe it would be interesting to either build, extend, or figure out what exists further on the HackerOne platform and just use it internally for us, so that we can know better if like we're utilizing the working group members for triage in a good way. If not, like what we can do to make it better. I think this is something that we can take like internally for the team, for someone to investigate it further.
So I think I agree. I'm also wondering though, like, this one still sounds like something we could put on that wish list. And if we get to it and do it, that's great. If somebody outside says, hey, I want to do that, it seems to me like we wouldn't necessarily need to give them access to our HackerOne instance. Mm-hmm. You could give them access to, a blank HackerOne instance or whatever, and they could still figure out what analytics are possible. And, with some interaction, provide, do something useful there.
Yeah, that's true. I think actually from what you just said, it's actually another good point is maybe someone externally can actually define and like figure out what are the requirements for like good, I don't know, metrics or KPIs and what we want to track. And this is, that's not even a security related topic. So maybe it would be good for someone from the outside to actually like build the criteria and the metrics and stuff like that. So I definitely join this. Like it's a good idea.
Yeah. I mean, and again, none of these things if we actually get to have time to do them ourselves, we should just do them, right? It's more of, if it's something that somebody else could help out, if we surface it, maybe we'll get some additional help, which is, okay. I know those are good. Let's see. Just trying to think if there's any, those are a pretty good starting list, I think. And if we just sort of keep in mind that there's this list we can add to it easily, I think, having added 6, or we got 5 that we can add to the list, that's a good start. And then just keep in mind to add things to that. I think, AJ, from your perspective, that seemed like a good start of things.
Yeah, it looks good to me.
And then sort of separately, I guess, maybe we should try and meet with one more. What I suggest is like next ComCom meeting, go back and actually talk about the idea of having a separate repo for working groups to open the issues, see, what people there think. We'll also try and schedule for another working group meeting and get feedback from that working group. Unfortunately, I'm like traveling for the next 2 weeks, so it might have to wait till after that, but we'll get on somebody else's, get that feedback. In the meantime, hopefully you can get on the next ComCom meeting, see what people think there, and we'll push on it from that perspective as well.
Okay. You're saying go ahead and attend the next ComCom meeting while you're not there?
Yeah, exactly. Like just, see if you open an issue, add it to the agenda, just say, hey, I'd like to give an update. We had one discussion with one of the working groups. Here's an idea which we thought of that actually might go across them. Just wanted to get some additional feedback.
Sure. And,
maybe people will jump into the issue and we don't need to actually touch base in the meeting, but, if people put it on the radar and if people are interested, talk about it in the meeting. And if everybody says great, then maybe we'll test it out on one more and then roll it out, kind of thing.
Okay.
So any other questions, or like, in terms of, we've brainstormed a bit, we've got some things to move forward since we have, some working group members here. Anything else you can think of to ask or talk about that might help your effort?
I'm still not clear on what the mechanism for the actual document should be, as far as like on the website page, or a Google Doc, or an issue that gets updated, or
in terms of the things to go and look for. Is that the
entry point for the newcomers? It doesn't have to be newcomers either. Right. Existing contributors could use it as well. But just
I'm kind of thinking that's a good thing on the node.js.org website.
Okay.
So I would open an issue there saying, giving the context and asking, we're thinking, the current thinking is maybe it fits into the website. Where do you think it would fit in would be the question. And then people from the website could chime in saying, yeah, we don't think this is the best place, or yes, it is. And here's the link and URL where it would fit.
Okay. Well, that pretty much covers all my questions.
Okay. In terms of, those were the two things we had on the agenda. Are there any other things people want to talk about this meeting?
So yes, there was this topic I added to the agenda, but only today, and I forgot about it. That's issue 156. People have been asking about the license of the vulnerability database.
Right.
And there have been some extensive discussion, not extensive. There have been a few discussions on that topic. My position would be that as the repository is under MIT, the whole data set under the repository is under MIT, as a matter of fact. But someone is complaining that MIT is not suited for data licensing, and I'm not an expert on that topic. So.
Right. So does anybody feel like they know enough about that topic?
I think even if so, it's probably a legal issue. So there could be some like law, loopholes, etc. That even if we know something about, like probably other people are much better at this. So I would try to maybe get involved, someone from the foundation, or that they could give like the sign off on this.
Could that be something to add to the wish list?
Yeah.
It is, although I think we should push it forward as opposed, like, I don't know if it's something we can just wait for somebody else to come and do. My suggestion was we ask the ComCom for help, like specifically, because I guess the TSC as well, like if we think it needs legal advice, then it's going to be either the TSC who has a representative on the board and can actually ask for something to be referred to the legal committee for feedback. TSC currently has one that the community committee is going to have a director representative, isn't put in place yet. So I think if it's that we need one of those, if we just need, unless the question's been answered, which I think from other discussion, the question hasn't been answered. I do know though that the community committee did refer a question in terms of what should we have for things like documentation as a license. So maybe we should just open an issue on the ComCom to say, can you give us feedback on this based on what you learned about this other issue? And if not, can you help us get legal advice? So I can open an issue to do that in the ComCom, and I'll try and find the other one that I don't remember the number off the top of my head, but I do know there was a similar discussion about, most of the repos there are not code. So is the MIT license appropriate or not?
Looks good to me then, yeah.
Okay, so maybe I'll take that as the next step and basically do that right after we finish.
Thanks.
Any other issues?
I think we're good.
Okay. I don't know let's look for when the next one is.
Probably a month from now.
So, because I'm looking May 31st, I don't see one. Okay, so we have them set monthly, is it?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I see. Okay, good. I was just making sure it didn't collide with the Collaborator Summit or anything like that. Okay, so unless there's any topics, the one thing I think we did want to do, I was discussed, but I don't think we got on the agenda, so maybe we want to make sure is on the next one was, there was a suggestion that maybe we should use HackerOne CV infrastructure for assigning our own, like the core CVs as well. So, because I'm looking May 31st, I don't see one. Okay, so we have them set monthly, is it? Okay, good. I was just making sure it didn't collide with the Collaborator Summit or anything like that. Okay, so unless there's any topics, the one thing I think we did want to do, I was discussed, but I don't think we got on the agenda, so maybe we want to make sure is on the next one was, there was a suggestion that maybe we should use HackerOne CV infrastructure for assigning our own, like the core CVs as well. And I think it was something, I'm trying to remember the conversation. I thought it said something like, hey, maybe we should get a demo or something like that. Discuss it
Yeah, you're wanting to get a demo of the new feature set.
Yes.
That's on that. Yeah, that should probably be live already within like next week sometime. So definitely we can schedule some time to do a demo of that in the next like couple of weeks.
So can you take the action to, when it's ready, open an issue and tag it with security working group agenda so it shows up in the meeting following that, we can do the demo.
Reid, will it be available by the end of May? Because we could take the opportunity to do the demo during the collaborator summit, as there will be some people of the core triage team around, and could be a good place to discuss with them. What do you think?
Yeah, my understanding is that it would hopefully be done by end of May. I will check with the team to make sure.
Cool.
Yeah, most of that team, the only people who've actually assigned CVs so far have been myself and Rod.
Okay.
Rod hasn't been there. Like basically, we said when we became the CNA, Sam and I volunteered to basically run that assignment. Rod's generally been the other person who's been doing the security announcement process, so I kind of glued it into that. I think it'll probably stay that way in terms of whoever does the announcement should probably be also assigning the CVEs. So.
Sure.
But it does bring the point that we should probably, like, if we know when it's going to be, we should invite Rod and try and get him to that meeting as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so the way it would work is that just as issues come into the node.js program on HackerOne, and like you feel that they need a CV, you can request them then, and they can be assigned. Like you don't have to wait till the end when you're ready for a release. You can go ahead and get assigned. They won't be sent to MITRE until the release is done. But we can do the assignments ahead of time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, that would be easier. It'd be better not to have one person or two people who have to be involved and know what's going on if it's easy to. So yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So if it's ready, I guess it's like, let us know when it's ready, and if we can do something there, then maybe that does make sense. And if not,
happy to have y'all use it. So I've already added y'all to the beta list. So when it is ready, y'all will have access to it.
Okay.
Awesome.
Great. Okay. Any other topics? No? Okay. Well, then thanks for everybody attending, and thanks for everybody who was watching as well. And we'll talk to you next time.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.